Hi, welcome to Enthusiast. I'm Jeff Hill. What is the most iconic car of all time? Well, I believe there's argument for this car, the Porsche 911 Turbo, or known as the 930. Still in production today, this car is one of the most recognized cars ever produced. The 1950s and 1960s were a revolutionary period in the car world. Think, in 1953, the Chevrolet Corvette came into play and changed the world. It's still in production today, only missing 1 year of production in the entire run. The Ford Mustang came out in 1964, 64 and a half, and changed the world with production sports cars. But perhaps the most recognizable and most iconic car of that era is the Porsche 911. In 1975 or thereabouts, North America saw a turbocharged version of the iconic character-laden Porsche 911. This is it, the air-cooled 3.3 liter Porsche 930, and it is perhaps one of the most recognized sports cars of all time, and without a doubt, one of the most iconic. If it's not one of the most recognizable cars of all time, it's certainly one of the sexiest, with these beautiful flowing hips. The turbos always came with the tea tray, the picnic table, the whale tail. Early cars were just 3-liter turbos. These later cars had the 3.3 liter intercooled turbocharged engine, this putting out about 300 horsepower. And I'll tell you, Porsche must fudge their numbers, because this does not feel like a 300 horsepower car. It feels like a supercar. Known the world over as the Widowmaker, the 911 Turbo is a bit of a handful, but in the hands of a good driver, it's absolutely magnificent. Now, most of the pundits would suggest that the engine is in the wrong place on this car. Why? Because it's behind the rear axle. Well, these cars handle absolutely phenomenal, but the problem that a lot of fellas got into was they went into the corners too hot, lifted off the throttle, unsettled the back end, and spun them around. And there came the term Widowmaker. But if you know how to drive a 930, they're absolutely thrilling, confidence-inspiring, and will put a smile on your face every single time you get a chance to drive one. I have a real personal love for the Porsche 930. Of course, everybody had posters of these cars as teenagers and young adults in the 70s and 80s. But I'll never forget, I got a call from my father. He was at work, and there was an ad in the local newspaper for a 1976 Porsche 911 Turbo. And I called the fella, and of course with this young cracking voice of a prepubescent teen, "Hi, could you tell me about your car?" And I remember the fella kind of laughed and told me about it and said, "You'll never see another one like this. It was owned by an Arizona Diamondback baseball player, and you'll never see a car like this." So I phoned my dad real excited. "We got to go see this." So I thought he was just doing it for entertainment. We go and see this car, and I'll never forget, the garage door opens as we're sitting out there, and it's parked in the garage just kind of sideways, its wheels turned a little bit. And as the door comes up, I remember the door goes up and my jaw drops. I had never seen a prettier car in my life. Well, we went for a ride. The gentleman took my brother and I for a ride and came back, and later learned that my father had been on the phone with him later that day and actually bought the car. I ended up going to my grade 12 graduation, high school graduation, in that car, and later on had a 996 Turbo that my oldest son went to his graduation in. I've since owned 2 other Porsche 930s, and they never ever let you down. This is one of the greatest cars that have ever graced the roads. The character of this car is truly remarkable, but every little thing becomes an event in a 911 Turbo. Even when you have to get out, put fuel in your car. It's got a remote release, and Porsche wanted you to take care of your paint, so they give these liners for drip and of course for any scratching on the nozzles. Just so cool. It just adds to the event of owning one of these cars. Let's check out the front packaging too. It's pretty exquisite what they did up here. So up underneath they have a liner, but you have your inflatable spare tire under here. This is your compressor to fill it up, and of course your fuel tank is up under here. Your battery's here, and it actually allowed weight to come up into the front end to balance the car a little bit differently. Here's your factory tool roll, and I suppose if you're on vacation you got enough room to throw some soft bags in there and have a wonderful trip through the country roads. What a magnificent car. So to drive the car, of course, is an event, but this is one of those cars that you can drive in public and it's approachable. You go to a car show with a Porsche 930 and they're received with accolades and people are just so thrilled to see them. These cars are met with a lot of fingers on the road, but they're the thumbs up kind versus the middle kind that you might get with another car. Their performance is otherworldly. The engineering is a marvel that it can perform the way it does with its packaging. But it's probably the most recognizable car on the planet. And any car meet, when a Porsche 911 Turbo / 930 shows up, they are always so well received. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a positive comment. In my mind, the Porsche 930 is the most iconic car ever produced. Absolutely gorgeous to look at. Incredible character to drive and experience. So of course, driving a Porsche 930 is what it's all about. It's very unique from a positional standpoint compared to a lot of its contemporaries. Of course, the Italian cars were sitting way back, your arms were short, your legs were long, all sorts of stuff. This is more like you're in a chair. And with the floor-mounted pedals, the take-up is quite a bit different, but it's very, very easy in these cars. The clutches are not all that heavy, easy to get going, and the sound is so distinct back there. This air-cooled, flat-six powerhouse. Turbo lag, you've heard about it. It exists. We're in second gear, 3,000 RPMs. Let's goose it. Takes a while. And there's the smile. Every time. I mean, you do not have to drive this car fast to really love it. Driving quick, of course. Just absolutely wonderful. It cruises along like a gentleman, and then if you need to, it will get angry for you. So it's pretty docile. It can idle, no problem, but you get going and you get into the turbo. It's got lag. You can literally put your foot down and you have to wait a little bit. And it's a very, very different gearbox. All of the 930s had 4-speed gearboxes up until 1989, where they had a 5-speed. You got to watch out for animals where we are. Hello, fella. That's so cool. Canadian Rockies, baby. Get back on the boil here a little bit. Oh, and it just sounds so good. It's a long shift. It's a big, you have to be very deliberate with it. This 1987 version has a completely rebuilt 4-speed gearbox, and it's absolutely wonderful. This car only has 46,000 miles, and it looks like it. But lots of care has been put into this, and that's why it just drives so nicely. These are fast cars, but they feel actually faster than they really are because of this turbo lag, and then it comes on with just absolute urgency. There's third gear, moving up. Oh yeah. Oh, so much character on these old Porsches. It's why they're a cult machine. Everybody loves them. You know, I have a lot of people say, oh, I'm not really a Porsche guy. And I always say, well, how many have you driven? Oh, none. Yeah, exactly. I was a brunette guy until I met a blonde. So about 300 horsepower in today's standard, 2025 is, boy, you get that in your classic minivan, not really a big deal. But back in the 80s and early 90s, and even with our BMW M3, 333 horsepower, it's substantial, it's nice enough. But I think Porsche undervalues their horsepower because this car competed with cars that were 400 horsepower and like a Countach 450 horsepower, 455 actually. This car is remarkable. and it all comes from that single turbo. Put the loud pedal down. And I'll tell you, that urgency feels a lot different than your standard 300 horsepower. It's nothing, and then it's wow. Everybody recognizes a Porsche 930. They've been in production for decades. And this is why I believe it's not only one of the most beautiful cars on the planet, it's one of the most iconic cars on the planet. For enthusiasts, I'm Jeff Hill. Thanks for watching.